What's up, y'all? This is Robbie Rad. Just sitting here doing a Bible study that I've been doing for some time in the Book of Daniel, and I thought I would share some insights and some, trials, a little bit that I've been going through, and some kind of conclusions that I've come to with some of the trials that I've been going through personally and relating them back to my Bible study. So I've been doing a Bible study through the book of Daniel. I'm getting ready to start the book of Daniel for the 5th time. I read How to Study the Bible by Mr. John MacArthur last year. God rest his soul. Mr. MacArthur, since I read that book, went to go be with the Lord. Good for him. Not so good for us, because he was one heck of a Bible teacher. But glory to God, and hope he's resting peacefully with the King. But one thing he put forth in there is to read the book over and over and over again and start to do deeper, more involved study. So I read a Thompson's Chain Reference. Can't see because my cover's all taped up. She's got some miles on her. This Bible's older than me. But it's a Thompson's Chain Reference Bible. As you can see here, gives me outer margin, inner margin notes, all sorts of references and stuff where I can go to parallel passages, go to my concordance in the back. I have a huge history section in the back, maps, other things like that. It gives me all those references and links so I can jump around and get better context. I can relate Daniel's visions, as you get into like Daniel 7 and beyond, to, similar visions that Ezekiel has and that John has in Revelation, which helps just give you better understanding, better context of all of it. And one thing I just did is I read here that chapter 1 starts in roughly 607 BC, and I believe chapter 12, which is the last chapter of Daniel, ends around, I think it was 534 BC, roughly 73 years it covers. 73 years of Daniel's life. And like I said, been going through some stuff lately in my own life. We all have them, right? We all have our seasons or our valleys that we have to walk through to get to the mountaintop on the other side, right? And through some of those things, it's hard to not, get bitter. Not only, some people get bitter toward God when trials strike them deeply. Some people get bitter toward people around them, towards life in general, loved ones, whatever, circumstances, jobs, all sorts of things. And just this overall study I've done, I even went as far as like translating Daniel's Hebrew name, as well as his companions Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. We know them better as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which was the Babylonian names that were given to them after they were taken into captivity, after Jerusalem fell and they were taken to Babylon. But I guess the main point I'm making here is it gives me the realization that, I'll speak for myself here, but we don't necessarily have it as bad as we think, right? We could be in captivity in Babylon for 73 years, being forced to serve a series of wicked kings. We could be, it says that they refused to drink the King Nebuchadnezzar's wine and eat of his meat, and ask for what the Bible in my King James refers to as pulse, which would have been lentils. So they were vegetarian. You could be forced to be in Babylon for 73 years as a vegetarian, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's safe stretch to make. Is that it says right here in Daniel 1:3 that, and the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes. So we understand that they were of royal blood. Daniel and his companions were of royal blood, possibly even of, you know, heirs to the throne of Jerusalem. And if they were under the tutelage of Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, and put into essentially training to become magicians for Babylon, you know, wise men, as it refers to later as, you know, wise men and soothsayers and magicians, then a lot of those were eunuchs. I think it's safe to say that they were probably castrated and made into eunuchs. The Bible doesn't specifically state that, so take it for what it is, but I think it's a safe assumption to make. And also, if they were of royal blood, the last thing you want is to have a uprising with an heir to a throne, with a region that you have overtaken. So that would be one way to stifle that, would be to castrate all the men of the seed of the royal blood, which is quite potent. Belly's angry. Good thing I got a breakfast sandwich cooking out there. Which would be something that was very popular in that time period when you would take over other countries and regions, is they would, if they kept people of the royal bloodline of that area, they would most likely castrate them. So, you know, we think we got it bad. We could have, you know, been in Babylon for 73 years, castrated, and forced to be a vegetarian. Well, actually, they choose to be vegetarian, but regardless, you know, it's just a conclusion I came to in my mind. And, you know, Daniel had every right to be bitter and could have, you know, undermined the king, you know, when he's asking him to interpret all these different dreams that he does interpret. And, you know, for Belshazzar, which is, now Daniel's name was Belteshazzar, it was switched to, that was his Babylonian name, but he never owns his Babylonian name. He constantly, you know, refers to himself as Daniel, and then people start to refer to him in the end as Daniel, also known as Belteshazzar. But Belshazzar would have been Nebuchadnezzar II's son, so Nebuchadnezzar I's grandson. You know, he interprets the writing on the wall for him, the Aramaic, the Mene Mene Tekel Upharsin, and that's later in Daniel as well. And he could have done these interpretations in these translations and kind of just like fed them a line, but he still does everything he does with loyalty to these kings until it asks him to not be loyal to his God and his true king, King Jesus. So I think it's a great example that, one, a lot of us don't have it nearly as bad as it could be, and two, be loyal even to, you know, a boss that maybe you don't always agree with, until the things he's asking you to do are going to undermine your faith or put you in a position where you're going to do something that God's going to frown upon. You know, until it's at that point, serve humbly and serve loyally.